There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have two special guests. They were the Rum Tum Tugger and Bombalurina on the U.S. National Tour 5. They are also married, so we will add a lot of fuel to the Bombi Tugger rumors here today. So welcome, Cara Cooley and Adam Steiner, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I'm excited to have both of you. I have done mostly one-on-one interviews, but when I heard that there are a Tugger and Bombalurina married couple that met on tour, I thought, well, you have to come together, right? You have to share the story. But let's start at the beginning. So I want to hear from both of you. I always love hearing about your history with cats before going on tour. So like, how familiar with you with the musical? Had you seen it before, or was it the 98 movie? Like, what was your familiarity?
I had not seen it live, but I watched the movie a bunch with my sisters, and we would I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't really know that much about it though, really. It's just like the movie, and like, I thought the Heaviside Layer was weird and stuff, but the dancing was sweet.
That's spot on. Great dancing. No idea what's happening. Yeah, that sounds accurate.
That was about the same.
Adam was obsessed with it.
I mean, I didn't know much about it at all either. I mean, being that I predominantly wasn't a dancer, and actually the only reason I went to the audition was because a couple friends were going, and it was almost like they were signing me up as a joke. And I was like, I'll go. I got nothing going on tomorrow. So,
you got a haircut.
Yeah. Like it was just like a normal day, and I just like swung by, and then that was it.
Wow. So you didn't have any expectations?
Not really. I mean, I needed a job.
Like your friend, just hang with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So did you know, Adam, did you know much about it at all? Or how familiar with, like, did you know the concept? Did you know Tugger, or did you just go in because you needed a haircut and they were going to drive you?
Yeah, it was pretty much that. I mean, I knew I was like somebody who like knew Tugger was like the Elvis cat, which is just like not even real.
Tell them your audition song.
Oh, I sang Save a Horse Rowdy Cowboy.
That's his karaoke song too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of was the perfect storm though, really, because like then I got the job, which is funny because isn't that how it works? It's like something where you really went in with no expectation, almost, and not as a joke, but almost being like, whatever, I got nothing to do today. And then, 2 weeks later, you're on the show.
That is fascinating. So it's kind of, you obviously don't go unless you have at least some intent of like, yeah, I would do this if I got it. But you kind of, do you think that made your audition even better because you had just like you didn't have pressure because you weren't even thinking about whether or not it was something you wanted?
Yeah, I think, and I think like the role, I mean, I'm like, 6'1", 210-pound guy. Like so I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb already in that group, in that audition. So I think like it was the perfect storm of it actually being a perfect job for me, but not realizing that before, right? But I don't know, hoping.
Cara, what about your audition? How was your experience? Did you actually go with intent, or did you? Yeah, you signed up for it.
Right. So I was on the show first. I went to an open call and they were casting like everything. Because Adam joined the tour later and it was just for Tugger. So I went in and I had like gone to the audition before, did horrible, couldn't get the combo, left. I learned the combo. So I had to memorize, and I like show up and I'm like, oh, what's this dance? And I like really did a great job because I already knew it, but I pretended like I didn't. But I actually went to the singer call. That's what I sang. I did the singer call, and then I did the dance. So I just did a great job.
What did you sing? Did you sing something?
He plays the violin from 1776.
I just saw that recently here in New York.
Did you? I heard good things. Yeah, it wasn't like, I didn't do it like that sexual like that girl, but I mean, I did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, that's very unique. You need to have.
I heard this.
Hear the laughing from the other room. We should say that you two are sitting in separate rooms in the same house to help make the podcasting experience better, which I think is going to make this twice as fun as you hear each other's reactions to your own stories. So
I don't know. I don't know why he's laughing.
Yeah. So I want to hear a little bit about, I want to go into, before we get into you two kind of like as a Bombi Tugger combination here, tell me a little bit about, I love thinking about backstories. So when you started the tour, what were you told about Tugger? What were you told about Bombalurina? As like, tell me their story, their character. What did you have to add to that beyond what you were told?
You want me to go first, babe?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll go in case the baby. Okay. Well, I heard that Bombalurina is the ultimate good time girl. She's the party girl. And then there's this whole thing, like Demeter's like such a freak show, and she's, she's got some issues. And then I've kind of got it together a little bit more. So I take the leadership role. And so she's like always under my wing, and I'm a little bit more of a calming force. I've just seen more mature. Like she has some issues, and I'm like kind of like, it's cool. Like we'll be okay. And then I also knew that Bombalurina and Tugger are like dating. As much as cats could date, we're probably a couple. We're like flirty. That's like, that's.
Were you told that before Adam joined? Like, were you told you and Tugger were supposed to kind of have this energy and relationship, or did that come after?
Yeah, because I had another Tugger before him.
Okay. So that was, because that's where, it's so interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just find it really interesting because of the Tugger character has, it's like he's up for anything and anybody, and that's why there's a lot of Tugger Mistopheles, like fan fiction and all that stuff out there. But the Tugger Bombalurina, of course, is obviously a piece too. So it's interesting to hear that like that was told to you as like that the two of them are dating, versus are they just kind of like flirtatious and they're both kind of just doing their own thing with any and everybody? I
could have made up that they were dating. It kind of did. It's like when Adam joined the tour, they got a little bit more of a backstory.
Yeah. So once did you? So when you started dating, then they started dating a little bit more on stage too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. We just put on our own little special sauce.
Adam, what about you?
So I mean, my initial part of this is different because I did join as a replacement. So like I wasn't told anything. It was just like, move here, go here, do this, like just to get me in the show. So then over time, like the weird thing about cats, I think, and especially being that it's been going on for so long, there's almost like a, I don't know the right word, like bipolar version of all these characters because there's been so many changes. So I would say like the director would come in and say like, hey, you're like a good time guy. You're just kicking the shit, having fun. And then like a month later, he'd come in and be like, I don't know what you're doing. You got to be darker. You got to be more sexual. And it was like insane because you're like, bro, you just said that I was doing it wrong. So I changed it. And now I'm doing it the way you want it. So like, so for me, like the experience of Tugger doing it for so long became, it changed a lot, but I'd say like the through line was like, he was like a little bit older than the other cats and kind of been through a lot and just kind of like down to have a good time and just kind of have fun throughout the journey with no expectations of like the ending and Grisabella and all that stuff. He just was, DTF.
There to have fun. Yeah, it's
DTF.
DTJ, down to Jellicle. The
DTJ.
So it's so interesting you say that because I've heard from so many. I've been trying to figure out the cat's family tree, and there is no answer to it. And it's because someone finally just goes, it's because they're cats. Like they all are all together. They're all this. Like there's no way to answer it. But what I've noticed is that over time, you do see relationships form based off of staging and dance numbers and some stuff that's like very clearly put in the show. And then there's others like your situation where your relationships with castmates starts like if you're really good friends, that could be your cats maybe aren't supposed to be good friends. And that's where it's like, well, now it's a little strange because you have good energy together, but your cats aren't supposed to. And so that is where I'm kind of fascinated by, do you believe, like, are you a big part of why the Bombalurina Tugger combination, like, do you think you added fuel to that fire because of your relationship?
Well, I don't know. Like, so there's like the choreographed stuff and like, there's lots of like Bomb Tugger, like cute, sexy dances together and like moments. But then like, it'd be like doing Misto at the end, and they'd be like, Cara, you can't like lay on top of Adam and be like chit chatting, you know, like, so I don't know if it was good or bad.
Yeah, it's a good point.
You know?
It's like, there's some stuff that you can't go around, and there's other stuff that you can, especially with the Tugger, with Adam for you, like you get a little bit more freedom, I think, than most people, right? Like your character's supposed to kind of break the rules.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I like a lot what you said. I think that's super spot on is, and maybe that's why Cats is, interesting in the way that it is. And it's kept going for so long is that because of the relationships built off the stage with all these cast members, like it really does probably change the show a lot. And, and I think that that's actually really cool because they do say, like, piggybacking on that, one of the things about Cats that I remember is them saying that it's more fun to do Cats and to be in Cats than it is to see Cats.
Yeah.
And that's
I've heard that a lot.
It's so much about the relationships. I mean, it really is so much about the relationships on stage and the moments that you have with your friends that are also your castmates. And because of the way that show's written, you're really allowed to get away with a lot, you know, as far as BSing and stuff on stage. So I think that's a cool observation.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that in the sense that it's a lot of fun to do and it's just so unique. And I think too, like as you're doing it, you get exposed to all the stuff that, like, I just got back when we're recording this. I just got back from seeing the tour, and I know a lot.
Oh, cool.
A lot more than most non-super fans of this, having recorded so many episodes. And even I'm watching it going like, I missed that totally. There's so many things going on. I can't catch everything. There's just so much happening. And I think you as performers getting to see it so often, do it, learn all the stuff, get to hear all the takes. It is probably fun to do in the sense that you get to really, you know, follow it for as long as you did. And then for you, tour by tour, you're going place to place to place to place to place to do that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think it's like so fun for the actors because like it's not like any other show where you're like, okay, I'm a villager in this scene and this and that. It's like you're invested the whole time in the whole show. I can promise you, I was never bored once doing that show because it's like so fun and you're so invested and that it is such a like the performers in the show, it's such a performers show to be in because it's so fun.
Yeah, it feels like it's a family too because you're forced to get really close to each other. Whether you like it or not, the ball is a giant orgy and you're going to be rolling on top of each other for 15 minutes or whatever. You have to get close to each other. Yeah,
I think it like ruins other shows for people because they're like, this is not as fun as Cats. Like everyone you talk to is like, oh, this was the best time of my life. And it's like, yeah, it's like it's really unique and so special in that way.
So I think, you know, it's generally being on tour and doing that is a life-changing moment, but it was clearly a very life-changing moment for the two of you. So was there an on-stage moment when you realized that this was going to be your future spouse, or like I'll
tell you the craziest story. This is honest to God true story. I booked the show as a replacement. I had a vocal rehearsal at Chelsea Studios, which I don't even know if that's around anymore, but that was like the hot studio that everybody was at back then. And I was sitting next to a guy and that I had catered one time with, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm joining Cats." He's like, "My best friend's on Cats, Cara Cooley." So I do my rehearsal. I go home, jump on my girlfriend at the time's laptop that I lived with, and look up Cara Cooley on Facebook. And in that moment, I was like, I'm going to marry that girl. And that was, like, honest to God, like I literally saw her and I was like, I don't know why. And I joined the tour, met her in full Cats makeup right before the show.
I was in full Cats makeup.
And then I like worked it for 10 months. And then,
that is it's love at first sight, but it's kind of a crazy story that love at first sight on you're living with girlfriend on her laptop, like before you're about to go on tour moment.
Yep.
And I didn't even like him at first.
No? Was it an Adam thing or was it a Tugger thing?
I did not like him. It's just like, oh, you're the new person. I'm obviously cooler. And then people were like, hey, Adam likes you backstage. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, I'm trying to be professional. I don't need this random guy. And then he was like, we were in Caracas, Venezuela, and I got swung out so I could watch the swing could go in and do my role. So I'm like, I'm going to watch the show. Great. And then I saw the show and Adam was like so talented and so good that I was like, came backstage and he was like, had like his unitard like halfway down. I was like, oh my gosh, you're so good. You're so good. And he was just being like chill. And all of a sudden I was like obsessed with him because I thought he was so good in this show.
It's so funny just knowing the characters, because like I'm thinking about this as almost ignoring you two as humans of like, I mean, your number is here, you're like doing crotch thrusts out on the stage and you're sitting in the audience for the first time being like, oh my god, now I see what's happening here.
Yeah, it looks different. Yes. Yeah, and he's like so much bigger than everyone else on stage, and then the wig is, I mean, I just thought it was so sweet. I was like, you're the best.
That was my plan too. Like when she was swung out, I was like, all right.
You promised you knew.
Well, we'd like made out once, but I was like, I'm going to seal the deal right now.
This was
really. I mean, did you like try extra hard during this?
Yeah.
Did you green eyes around? God. Were you in the audience or were you backstage watching?
I was in the audience.
Oh, so did you do green eyes and like try to start by going to where Cara was and then make sure that your number, you know, comes to the right side of the stage?
I don't think he did that. I think he just tried to like. I think you really
just brought it.
You went for it that night.
You brought the Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy A game.
Yeah. To energy.
To what city was this in? Do you remember?
Venezuela.
Wow. So international too. You're really bringing full force. That's so fun. So then after that, do you think that after that moment when you did, you know, started dating and you realized this, did it change not your performances? Because I think like ultimately the two are kind of staged together anyways, but was there a different energy in that moving forward?
For sure.
It was also though like a big secret to some degree for a long time. Mm-hmm. So like, although everybody knew, I mean, like everybody knew.
Yeah, we were like trying to be a secret.
You know, but I think though that, again, because you're doing something so often and like at that level, like you're doing it so it's so specific what you're doing every night. Like aside from like, again, like being in the Misto number, and I would get back to the hotel before Cara. So I'd be like, hey, you know, you want to drink white wine tonight or what do you want to do? And we'd like make plans for after the show during.
Maybe like your mics are on, you guys.
Yeah. But I mean, really, I don't think it changed much beyond that as far as like the show.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I think it just made it more fun, right?
Yeah.
It's more fun.
Yeah, I was thinking like, because there is the idea of like, maybe you have different looks or like when you're on stage together, you're supposed to be flirting pretty much. Both of your characters are supposed to be kind of flirting with everybody anyways. So it's like, did you just direct it more? But I like the more of the, okay, we got off the bus and now, you know, a lot of times you have roommates and stuff on tour. It's like, nope, we're going to go to this hotel bar. Just the two of us together away from everybody else.
Yeah.
And people knew it was like the worst kept secret as much as you tried?
Yeah, everyone knew, but it was like, again, he had a girlfriend, so it was like, and then I was like, well, I'm just being professional. Like, it's not my vibe. But he would like bring me like a sandwich every day between the show or before the second show and this and that. And it was like so obvious. Plus he was so obsessed with me. So it was like,
Cara.
I mean, you were. He was.
All right. Now, were there any cats themed aspects to your wedding?
God.
No dance number, no Mama Jerry Rumple teaser dancing in the middle of the show.
Because we met doing cats, right? Like something that actually like, so it was a few years that we did it, but something that actually is so small in the whole retrospect of our lives has become so big because that's how we met. So like still to this day, we moved to Detroit like 8 years ago. And people will like find out that we were in Cats and it's like this huge thing. And we're like, it's like, dude, what about everything else I've done?
I'd love that. I also imagine, you know, I think when two performers and dancers are married, like your dance numbers at your wedding are probably just, the dance floor is probably better than like the weddings I'm going to where nobody has any skills doing it whatsoever.
Yeah, Adam's a good dancer. Our wedding was super small, but he did actually the night before our wedding, we did karaoke till like 3 a.m, and he did sing "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy."
Bring it back. It's an audition song. It's the go-to.
Yeah. It's a slam dunk.
What other crazy stories do you remember, whether it's related to you two together or not, just from being on tour?
Oh, I'll tell you what about Cara.
Everything crazy happened together.
Yeah, so, I mean, Vegas
insane.
is good. Your broken nose is good.
Oh, I broke my nose. Well, okay, you go ahead and tell him Vegas. Because that was a mess because we had 8 days off.
Yeah, so they put us
in Vegas. No one should have 8 days off.
It was like we had 4 shows in Vegas, but it was cheaper for them to just leave us there than it was to send us home. So no joke, it was like 8 days in Las Vegas.
And that was nothing
Hooters
to do
Hotel.
with drink.
That's where they put us. The freaking Hooters Hotel. So like again,
Nothing wrong
like
with
this
that.
secret relationship, like at this point, like we're starting to fall in love.
It's getting
Right?
messy.
Like we're
It's
actually
getting
falling in love,
messy.
and that was not really the plan. It was like friends with benefits, like sex after the show, whatever. Like it wasn't actually supposed to get so real. But it was. So then this random girl on one of our days off, like that I knew from growing up, invited us to this pool party, or like cabana. She's really rich. So
Day drinking.
it's me and like 3 or 4 like girls in the show. And right away, these girls that invited me, I think are a little bit like meh because I showed up with girls. But like, I mean, it was either, you know, like who was I going to show up? It's not like I had this Rolodex of straight men to bring to the pool party. So we like party, drink tequila. I don't know. And I don't know what happened. Like somehow Cara was mad that I was talking to these girls and she gave some guy her number and we get in a fight in front of Hooters. And
Yeah, and I'm wearing like clogs and a bikini, high heel clogs, like mascara running down my face. And we're like,
so we get in a fight.
we get in trouble.
Whenever the fight happens, we leave in a cab because we're staying somewhere else that night. Like we got a suite with a
The Venetian.
So then we get a call from the hotel, from the company manager, that we're kicked out of the hotel and
They had to escort us to our
To get our
rooms to
luggage.
gather our belongings.
because
I had to go to the security guard.
I told the security guard he had a small penis. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
That's right.
Which apparently
you're allowed to
Well,
say
they can
anything.
cut
you
it
can say
out.
anything
Okay, well,
on
you
this
can't say that in
podcast.
Vegas.
They said that he mentioned the size of the genitalia.
Yeah.
Like this whole like meeting conference call. That
So
we
like our company, Troika, who's the company, they're like, you're screwed. Like we're not gonna fight for you. Like you're kicked out of the hotel. So we have this like great idea
we get a car.
that we're gonna go to LA for like the 7 days that we're off.
We had this great time in LA. We had this like really romantic time. We're like, we're gonna go recreate
So
it.
we like drive
went to hell
halfway
in
to
a
LA and we're
handbasket.
like, we're in a fight. Like we don't want to be around each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we drove to the airport and like I flew to New York and she flew to see her family in Washington. And then we like met back up with the tour in Virginia like a week later.
Yeah, I had to like hide my phone in my suitcase and I watched like Planet Earth for 3 days and then I came back to tour and then everything was fine. We went to Wolf Trap and we performed outside in like
So
really warm weather and everything was
I have a
cool.
lot of follow-up questions, but I'm going to try to limit them. So it sounds like, so first of all, I have a lot of questions for the tour because I used to travel to Vegas for work and like 4 days is max for any
God.
human.
Max.
And that is, even that is aggressive.
Trouble.
So to give you 8 days between shows at, you know, that stage of your life, also, I just can imagine you showing up, like all of you are incredibly fit from doing this show, like coming to this pool party. And that was mistake number one. But did they still
Yeah.
perform in Vegas? Like, so you two were kind of kicked off, but did the show still go on? Swings went on, then you just came back to the next stop?
No.
No, the show was done
No.
there.
We were done.
Okay.
It was 8 days
Just
on the tail end.
So we were playing in Virginia, like literally like we ended Sunday and like the following week after Monday we were in Virginia. So there was all this time
Got
between. So they
So
just
you-
literally left us there.
Yeah, that's. I have a lot of questions
Bad.
for them on that decision making process. But okay, so you all got
What do you
booted from the
expect?
hotel, and then you came back to the next stop on tour after your quarrel.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. So then it's just like, you know, the show goes on. Nothing happened. You just, you know, you might be blacklisted from Hooters in Vegas, but you're
Thank
totally
God.
fine anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should go back and see. Our pictures are on the wall.
Nah, Vegas is. I don't think.
We couldn't be the worst thing they've ever seen.
I'm thinking of all the things that I have seen in Vegas, and I think telling a security guard, talking about a security guard's genitalia is probably not the worst thing I've heard or seen in Vegas.
I mean, we were just screaming in front of the hotel.
Yeah.
But I think already though, like the hotel didn't love the show being there, right? Like
there was chicken wings in the pool floating. What do they care?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff in Vegas, and every time I hear a story, I'm like, yeah, that's not the worst thing they're dealing with tonight. Like it shouldn't be. You two yelling at each other shouldn't be the worst thing that they're having to put up with in Vegas on a night.
That's what I thought.
But that is fascinating. That is one of the more bizarre tour stories I've heard. So thank you for sharing and documenting it. I've always joked I'm trying to document the Cats' history in the sense of like how people play their characters, but I feel like the tours have some really funny and wild moments. And the regional theaters,
because you live your
the
life.
Regional theaters get even crazier because they have like no budget and trying to figure out whatever they can do to just get the show off for the couple times. So any other notable stories you want to help me document, or we can then move to the rapid fire?
I think when Cara ran into a glass door and broke her nose, and we were in Canada, and
we were in Canada.
She couldn't get it fixed because the hospitals in Canada wouldn't take her insurance or whatever. So she had to drive we were like had a 10-hour bus ride, and her nose was busted.
Like every bump on the butt.
Like the whole bus ride. It was like insane how that's not that interesting. I think it was more interesting.
No, but then my mom got me scared that like someone's tail was going to hit me in the face. And you do that like swirly swirl, like the tails are everywhere and you're like ducked down in the ball. And then I was like scared of everyone's tail so much. It was just like, I don't know. That wasn't that interesting.
Couldn't you have like put a mask on of some sort and then just put the makeup on over it?
I could have. A disguise. Yeah. I should have. I don't know why I didn't.
Makeup. I'm thinking of like the NBA players. Like you're in Detroit. Like Rip Hamilton wore that mask for years. Yeah. Like you couldn't have just put your makeup on over the mask.
If I would have thought of it, I could have found some sort of mask.
I think that's if there's ever. Hopefully, there's no. This is a very high injury show, which is I've definitely learned that there's a lot of injuries in the show, just given the physicality of it all.
I know.
I hadn't heard a broken nose though, so
that's true.
And it sounds like
that was at a bar. I ran into a door.
Ran into a door bar, not in Vegas.
This was like Saskatoon or something.
Not Saskatoon, somewhere in Canada, cold.
Wow. We're going to take a quick break for some messages from our sponsors, and then we'll be back for more of The Wrong Cat Died. Okay, let's pivot to some rapid fire. So I want to hear from both of you. Just a couple quick questions. So if you were going to go on tomorrow for one day of Cats, doesn't matter, male, female, vocal range, dance number, whoever. If you could just be one cat tomorrow, which track would you want to do?
I would want to be Bombalurina again. I have dreams about it.
Yeah.
All the time I have dreams about it.
Is it dreams about
that, like, I don't remember my line? No, dreams about just like me being my same part and that it's in real time. Like they're bringing me back, but like I don't remember. So we're like rehearsing last minute. It's always like really last minute stuff. And I mean, like all the time I have dreams about that. So I just want to go back and do it all again because I remember everything and Adam remembers nothing. I could do the naming of cats right now and he could not do a single thing.
I can't even remember the words to anything.
He didn't plan to do it. He just showed up because he needed a haircut.
Yeah. Well, he at one point knew all the words and did it 5 million times and now it's all gone.
Adam, what about you? Who are you playing?
I'd probably still be Tugger too. I mean, just because of the nature of me and that show. I mean, it'd be like the weirdest looking.
You'd want to be Victoria. I mean, it would be me.
Like maybe regionally, I'd be like like one of the kittens for fun, but
kitten?
I don't know. I can't remember their name.
At what point do you start to be like, I'm gonna be Gus? At what point do you age into Gus?
I'm probably pretty close.
I think he's aged into old Deuteronomy already.
I love it. Who are your favorite and least favorite cats from the show? And I'll say not characters, forget actors, purely characters.
Jenny Anydots can be like a little annoying. No offense.
Okay, so no Jenny.
Growl Tiger. Ooh.
I like Growl Tiger. I like Growl Tiger.
What about favorite?
I love Grisabella. I think she's like a rock star.
So that's
that was like for me. It was like Old Deuteronomy. I think it's funny too. All the show is, but like again, our Old Deuteronomy was, I don't know, what was he, 50, and we were in our like early 20s. So it was like he did have like that father figure, and because your whole life is on tour, right? Because your whole life is on the tour, like he becomes, like a father figure on and off the stage.
Yeah.
He got weird though.
What?
He probably listens to this too.
I don't know what you're talking about, but he's a bomb.
You just said favorite, so we're just gonna leave it at that. What's your favorite song from the show?
Memory. Come on. You know what? Our Grisabella was really, really good. I know you can't like intertwine, like I'm supposed to be characters, but like she was so good.
I just love
so like it was a blast listening to that every
I
night.
just love like the overture at the beginning. I mean, there's like something so
so
cool about it, and like I don't know. I mean, hearing it every night, like when we had our kid, I played it in the bathroom during labor when my wife was like puking, and like for no other reason than like it brings joy to you,
Yeah,
it does. It's like that excitement every time.
It is such a like also like it's a memorable piece. Like it's like exactly what it is the minute you start hearing it.
Totally.
Yes, I think that is so cool. I love the overture. You're right. Okay, that's a good one.
So my fun question is, besides Bombalurina and Tugger, if you were going to couple up a pair of cats, which two do you think would be the best duo?
Probably like Plato and
I was going to say McCavity and Skimbleshanks.
What's with Skimbleshanks? Come on.
That is
it's sexual.
That is not any of the two I would have imagined coming up of all the different variations I thought. Well, there's a lot of ones that you can do. There's the Tugger Mistopheles. There's a lot of like relationships. There's even on the fan page, there's like relationships of that. There's a Jenny and Skimble. There's like a lot of different duos, and then there's obviously
Jenny and Skimble.
Yeah, and then there's the ones that are
Skimbleshanks.
But I had not thought of Plato or McCavity and Skimble, so let's start that rumor right now.
We've never discussed that. We don't sit around being like, "Do you think of Plato and Skimble?" Or, what do you like? We never talked, and we still thought that.
I've learned that I think a vast majority of what this podcast has turned into are a lot of things most people haven't thought about. And that's where it's become fun to hear everybody have to go back to their like, history of like, you did this years ago. Which characters would be fit? Like, what do you remember about this? And how did that actually play out? Because, I talked to somebody recently who was talking about all the dance numbers and the dancing and the choreography, and not even for the podcast, just in general about cats. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's not a dancer. Not a singer. Like I saw.
Oh yeah, there's a name for every little team.
Yeah.
Like section. Yeah.
But that's like that's what's so weird is like, and maybe it's different for us because now we're married, and that was like 13, 15 years ago, whatever, however long ago it was. But that whole show and everything, and why it worked, and why this bizarre thing with people in unitards, and it's so 80s, and like it was early on like the Disneyfication of Broadway and all these things where like I think the reason it is what it is actually because of the relationships created through the movement in the show. It's so much more than a pirouette and all these things. Like the version of it is like that would have made it fail because it's there's no plot, right? We can pretend there's all these things. We can pretend they're doing. It's like what is? Who knows what it is? But I think it's the relationships and the stories and maybe that's why regionally sometimes it's hard because they don't have that like insane togetherness that you have if you're doing it for years at a time.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. It is like there's every movement has a lot of like value to it. And that's where a lot of the theories come from. Like these two are looking at these two. And so there's this, or they're dancing together, or they're standing together, or they give each other a funny look. And that's kind of how all the like unknowns of where, like, I love hearing that you were told to play it one way and then it's like, no, play it a little bit darker. Cause that's the stuff that's not written. It's not written out, and it gives you a little bit of freedom or the ability to kind of change it up. And that's what allows a show like this to sustain.
Yeah. Totally.
Yes. Yeah. And they don't ever just give you like a piece of choreography. They'll be like, so you're pulling, the hair. You don't actually, but they'll be like, you're symbolically pulling the mask off of this cat, and then you're putting your tits to the wind. It's never like just
blowing
do
moon
this
dust.
stuff. It's
I
like,
remember my first rehearsal was
that. You think about it every time.
In the lobby of the theater during the show on Valentine's Day. So, and there was this girl, I met her 5 minutes before, and she like brings me up there. And again, like you can't see me, but like you wouldn't guess that I was in Cats A or could even move B. And then this girl's total babe, and we're like upstairs flirting the show, and she's like blowing moon dust and all this trippy stuff. And I'm like, what did I get myself into? Like turning and like doing all these dance moves and blowing fairy dust. And I'm like, and I just like remember thinking like, this is so bizarre what is happening, because everything does have these like weird meanings, which some cats really might think about. And I was more thinking about like beers with my babe after the show.
Yeah. I think there's a place for both. I think that's what makes it really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's ask the most important question. I have argued at length that I don't think Grisabella is the right Jellicle choice. So I want to hear, are you going to defend her or are you going to pick somebody else?
Did you have a cat that you said you think it should be?
I have a lot of ways to answer this question now, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on how you interpret Old Deuteronomy's decision. And so I can. Okay. I want to hear yours first. I don't want to skew answers, and then I can. Okay. Then if you pick Grisabella, though, then I'm going to try to tell you why all the reasons I think that's still wrong.
For sure, Grisabella, 1,000,000,000%.
Okay. So Adam, why don't you go, and then I'm gonna give my rationale here.
Okay, I really think Grisabella. I think she deserves it.
Gosh, it's like one of those things I haven't thought about in so long.
He thinks about it all the time.
See, and here's the thing with this question, because now the person that played Grisabella when I did the show creeps into my mind and is affecting my reasoning for making decisions. I don't think it's her.
What do you think?
Okay, not picking her.
Why?
So who are you picking?
No, not Anna.
I'm not picking her. I am going to pick Syllabub.
Okay, you're going to have to give a rationale. Fine. I want to get the Syllabub rationale.
Yeah, Syllabub has got a good vibe going. She doesn't need anything.
Well, I think, gosh.
You just made that up.
No, because, okay, so think about how Syllabub is always kind of singing right behind Grisabella, right? Memory, all that stuff. She's right there. Grisabella's old and haggard, and we're sending this old haggard into the next whatever, Heaviside lair. Let's send a fresh cat.
I love it.
She doesn't need to be, though. She's like 12. Well, no, like she's like a kitten.
She is a kitten.
Adam, I'm with you. It's any non-Grisabella answer I'm defending.
Wow.
I'm laughing though because I've kept up with who's voted who. And I just put it on social media. So when we're recording this, it had just come out. And there had been a vote. There has been one vote for Syllabub. And one of the first comments was, who in the world picked Syllabub and why? And I'm like, here's the episode if you want to go and hear the rationale.
But I don't really hear very good reasoning here.
Okay. So Cara, give me your, what's your Grizz defense?
I just think she's such a queen. She just needs a glow up big time.
So I don't disagree with that. I think she should spend a year with her family and go next year.
Okay, but I think she's ready. I don't think anyone else needs it as bad as her.
Not even Gus.
Come on, look at him.
Do you hear
Gus is fine. He has a partner in life.
What about who's the other one? Bombalurina, the girl you're friends with?
Demeter.
See, I told you I forgot everything. What about Demeter? Do you get Demeter a lot? Because Demeter, I mean, not only is Demeter crazy on stage, that's an off stage. They hire crazy people to play that part. No, not in a bad way. Just Cara's
you have to play it very skittish. So it's it has to be in that sense. It has to be a little bit of afraid. So I can show you as of this, there'll be plenty because you're supposed to be Demeter's. The one thing that's strange when it shows Demeter has been sexually abused by McCavity is the one truth that everyone just agrees. And so it's like, that's what's strange to me about the show to begin with. That's like, that's the one, one truth is the one thing that everyone's going to agree with.
Oh my God.
So this is as of 100 episodes. So I don't, when this comes out, there'll be more. So these numbers will be updated, but Grizabella is 49% of the vote. So more than half the people agree with me, which is the way you look at it as good. I looked at glass half full for me. You just looked at glass half full for you. You said half the people think Grizz is the right choice. I'm like,
well, you just said anyone but Grizabella.
Yeah, I'm like, I got half the people that agree that she's wrong. Gus is 35% of the vote. So Gus is the most common answer. And then there's a couple votes for Skimbleshanks and Old Deuteronomy and McCavity. And then there's one vote for Victoria, Demeter, Buster Jones, Cassandra, Monkish Trap, Baby Grizz, Jelly Lorem, and Syllabub.
No Bombalurina.
No Bomb. Yeah, nobody's made a case for Bomb yet.
I could see that though. She's great.
So my original argument, if everyone who's listened to this show consistently can fast forward like a minute and then can pick back up, because I've shared it before, but I think Gus is the most logical choice in the sense of I want to let Gus go this year and Grizabella go next year. I want her to spend time with her family. I want her to be reaccepted to the tribe and go to a birthday party or see her children. Like, she doesn't need to immediately be sacrificed.
You were serious. You want her to go see her family and stuff.
I want her to have, she gets reaccepted. That's a beautiful moment. We don't need to immediately off her after that. I think my original take was I saw the 2016 revival, which was Leona Lewis. So I just had X Factor in my head. And so I said, if I'm voting and X Factor has a history of combining characters, singers to boy bands and Fifth Harmony and One Direction, everything. So I sent Tugger and Mistopheles together. They were the two, super entertaining. I think they'd make a great boy band. They can go Bert and Ernie their way up to the Heaviside Layer. That was my original joke. That is the thesis and genesis of this podcast.
I love it.
Now, what do you think the Heaviside Layer is?
I think it's a chance to be reborn, but it also feels like it's a little Old Deuteronomy serial killer vibe. Like, I'm going to just kill a different cat every year.
Okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
I think there's a redemption arc, but it's more of like, who's going to go get a chance to have their next life? So it's a reward from that standpoint.
Right, okay, yeah, we're on track.
So that's where I would say, same. I don't think Grizabella deserves the reward yet. I think she can deserve it next year.
If she spends some time and goes to the birthday party.
Yeah, I want her to have her time with her family. Like, she probably needs it, but like she's been wanting to be brought back to the tribe. She finally gets reaccepted. Everyone starts to accept her and embrace her. And it's like, we're immediately going to send her away. That seems unfair to the family.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Do you want to change your vote?
Okay, now I'm feeling bad for Gus. I'll take Gus.
No.
I didn't feel strongly about Grizabella in the first place. Yeah, I'm going to say Gus. In fact, that was my first choice.
I love it.
What's the fact? What was the other one that Gus does? Buster Jones.
Yeah, and Peter in the revival.
He's knocking on death's door, that one.
Yeah. I mean, this is
I like
today
Gus.
Is exactly why this podcast exists, which is for me to slowly change everyone's opinion. And so I just converted.
I feel strongly about Gus.
One person over with this episode for fact. So chalk this up as a good use of an hour.
I wasn't even thinking. Yeah, like I never once thought about a Grizabella birthday party family vibe. Now that seems like totally logical.
I do think some of that too is I'm a little skewed. A lot of the Grizabellas I've seen now have been on the younger side, and I don't think that was always the case throughout the the years of Cats. And so I do think like seeing a mid-20s Grizabella makes me go like, all right, she's too young to go. Like, she doesn't have that old needing vibe of it as you sometimes get of the like weathered Grizabellas. So
well, see, our girl she was younger, but she played it very much older in a very good way, I think. So like, yeah, she just seemed like she was ready to go.
I try to remove the actors out of this. Because it's like,
how could you?
It's hard for you all, especially you did it, but for me, I'm like, I don't know any different.
Whatever.
I've met just who's agreed to come on and have this crazy debate with me to begin with.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, this has been incredible. I've now converted one person. I love hearing all your crazy stories, and got to have a Bombalurina Tugger true love story in real life. With the messiness and rockiness as clear as you would expect from the two characters. You had a little bit of your Vegas version of that as well. But the last thing before we go, I'd love to hear, how can people stay up with you on social media and stay in touch with y'all?
My Instagram is Cara Cooley. It's CaraCooley.
Awesome.
You can find me on hers a lot.
Oh, what about the campus shop?
Oh yeah, then mine is the campus shop. THE campus shop. You can see me on there too.
It's his clothing store.
Awesome. Well, we'll link both.
Plus, we do lots of TikToks and dances and things, and we have our new baby on there a lot.
Amazing. We will link everything so everyone can follow and enjoy the fun that happens and ensues, especially on the TikTok dances. It's great.
We'll do Copeland.
No, we won't.
I've been trying to get him to do Copeland. That's the beginning of the ball.
You're gonna get in full costume and record for do a transition TikTok and then do the dance.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for hopping on and being an amazing guest. This was super fun.
You were great, man. I appreciate it.
This was so fun. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.